Welcome to 15-minute battles, where we demolish history's biggest conflicts in just 15 minutes. We dive deep into the world's most pivotal military clashes, from the ancient battlefields of Marathon to the complex strategies of modern warfare. The leaders, who were the legendary generals and forgotten heroes commanding the troops, and finally, the outcomes. If you love history, military strategy, and learning something new quickly, you are in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another historic clash.
After conquering the mighty Persian Empire, Alexander the Great, the young king of Macedon, wasn't satisfied. He was driven by an insatiable ambition, a burning desire to march to the very ends of the world. By 326 BCE, his relentless eastward campaign brought him to the threshold of a new and mysterious land, India. Here, his legendary army would face its most formidable challenge yet. The immediate obstacle was the Hydaspes River, now the Jhelum River in modern Pakistan. Swollen and raging from the monsoon rains, it was a natural fortress. On the far bank stood the man who would become Alexander's most determined opponent in Asia, King Porus, the powerful ruler of the Paurava kingdom. This wasn't just another battle, it was a clash of empires, a collision of worlds, and the stage for one of history's greatest military gambles. The two armies that faced each other across the churning waters of the Hydaspes represented the pinnacle of their respective military traditions. Alexander commanded his battle-hardened veterans, an army of roughly 30,000 elite infantry and 5,000 of the world's finest cavalry. His Macedonian phalanx, a bristling wall of 18-foot-long spears called sarissas, had proven invincible from Greece to Persia. But Porus had a weapon that would test their discipline and courage to the breaking point. His army was vast, boasting around 30,000 infantry, 4,000 cavalry, and 300 war chariots. But the centerpiece, the factor that struck fear into the hearts of the Macedonians, was his contingent of nearly 200 war elephants. These weren't just animals, they were living, breathing tanks of the ancient world. Armored, with towers on their backs carrying archers and spearmen, they were a terrifying spectacle. For Alexander's men, many of whom had never seen an elephant before, they were monsters from a nightmare. The sight of these colossal beasts, trumpeting and stamping on the opposite bank, was a profound weapon of psychological terror. They were designed to smash through infantry formations like a battering ram, their sheer size and strength capable of shattering even the legendary Macedonian Phalanx. Alexander knew that a direct confrontation with this elephant cause in the middle of a river crossing would be nothing short of suicide. He would need a plan, a strategy so audacious and brilliant that it would cement his legend for all time. King Porus was no fool. He was a shrewd and experienced commander. He deployed his army directly across from Alexander's main camp, daring the Macedonians to attempt a crossing. Every day the two armies stared each other down across the wide, turbulent river. Porus had his elephants patrolling the bank, ready to charge any landing force the moment it set foot on his soil. Alexander understood the trap. A frontal assault was impossible. He needed to outwit Porus to lull him into a false sense of security. So, he began a masterful campaign of deception. For several weeks, Alexander made a great show of activity. He marched his troops loudly up and down the riverbank, sent scouts on noisy reconnaissance missions, and stockpiled supplies in plain sight. Night after night, his soldiers would shout and light torches, feigning preparations for a crossing at various points. At first, Porus reacted to every move. He would shadow Alexander's forces, marching his army to counter each perceived threat. But as the days turned into weeks, Alexander's constant, noisy, and ultimately fruitless maneuvers began to wear on Porus. The alarms became routine. The boy king from the west was all bark and no bite, or so it seemed. Porus grew complacent. He stopped mirroring every single movement, convinced that Alexander was simply posturing, trying to find a weakness that didn't exist. This desensitization was exactly what Alexander had been counting on. The trap was now set. The moment for Alexander's true plan arrived under the perfect cover, a violent monsoon thunderstorm. As torrential rain lashed down and thunder cracked across the sky, masking all sound and movement, Alexander put his audacious gamble into action. He left his general Craterus in charge of the main camp with a significant force, giving him explicit orders to only cross if Porus moved his entire army, or if Porus was defeated and fleeing. Then, under the cloak of the storm, Alexander personally led a hand-picked elite force including his best infantry and his legendary companion cavalry on a forced march. They moved silently and swiftly about 17 miles upstream to a heavily wooded bend in the river, a spot he had scouted and deemed perfect for a secret crossing. Here, hidden from enemy eyes, he had pre-positioned boats and rafts. In the dead of night, as the storm raged, his strike force began the perilous journey across the swollen river. They landed on an island they mistook for the far bank, forcing them to wade through another treacherous channel, but by dawn, they were across. They had achieved the impossible. A major part of Alexander's army was now on Paris' side of the river, completely undetected. When Porus finally received word of the crossing, he was stunned. Still not believing Alexander would be so bold, he first dispatched a small force led by his own son to intercept what he thought was a minor diversion. Alexander's veterans and superior cavalry made short work of them, and Porus's son was killed in the clash. The terrible news forced Porus to accept the truth. He had been outmaneuvered. Reluctantly, he turned his main army away from the riverbank to confront Alexander's landing force, leaving a small detachment to watch Craterus's camp. He arrayed his forces for battle, placing his most fearsome weapon at the very front, the wall of war elephants. The real battle was about to begin. As the two armies closed in, the battle devolved into a scene of utter chaos and brutality. Centered around the rampaging elephants, Porus positioned them in the center of his line, with infantry filling the gaps between them. He hoped they would break the Macedonian phalanx. At first, the plan worked. The elephants charged, their terrifying presence and sheer power causing the Macedonian lines to waver. They trampled men underfoot and gored them with their tusks. But Alexander was prepared. He had trained his men specifically for this. He ordered his light infantry and javelin men to target not the elephants themselves, but their mahouster drivers who controlled them. With their riders killed or wounded, the elephants, many already injured by Macedonian pikes and arrows, began to panic. Without guidance, they became uncontrollable engines of destruction. They thrashed wildly, unable to distinguish between friend and foe. The massive beasts, in their pain and terror, turned back on their own lines, trampling and crushing Porus's own infantry. The Indian formation, which relied on the elephants for its strength, completely disintegrated into chaos. Alexander seized the moment. He unleashed his superior companion cavalry on Porus's flanks, while his phalanx pushed forward into the disordered center. Surrounded, pinned between the rampaging elephants and the relentless Macedonian advance, the Indian army was slaughtered. Caught in a pincer movement, with Craterus now crossing the river to attack from the rear, Porus's forces were utterly defeated. The Battle of the Hydaspes was a tactical masterpiece for Alexander, but it was also one of his costliest victories. The Macedonians suffered significant casualties, and the raw courage of Porus's army left a deep impression on them. Porus himself fought with legendary bravery. Despite being wounded, the towering king, riding his lead war elephant, refused to retreat and continued to fight until he was one of the last men standing. He was eventually captured and brought before Alexander. The young conqueror, expecting a defeated king to beg for his life, asked Porus how he wished to be treated. In an infamous exchange, Porus drew himself up to his full height and replied, "Treat me, Alexander, as a king." Alexander was so profoundly impressed by Porus's defiance, his courage, and his regal bearing that he did something remarkable. He not only restored Porus to his throne, but also granted him additional territory, making him a loyal ally and satrap in his new easternmost province. The victory secured the Punjab region for Alexander's empire, but it marked a turning point. The battle had been brutal. His army was exhausted. They had marched for years, fought countless battles, and now they faced the incessant monsoon rains and the daunting prospect of even larger Indian kingdoms further east, rumored to have thousands more elephants at the Hydaspes River, the next great river on their path. Alexander's weary and demoralized troops finally put their foot down. They mutinied, refusing to march any further east. Their longing for home, coupled with the fear of what lay ahead, was too great. A dejected Alexander, for the first time, was forced to yield to the will of his men. He agreed to turn back, beginning the long and arduous journey home. The Battle of the Hydaspes was his final great conquest, a brilliant, bloody testament to his genius, and the ultimate limit of his ambition. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into ancient history, please hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel.
And that wraps up today's 15-minute battle. If you want to master more moments of military history in less time, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next 15-minute battle.